Joining me from London is Patrick Christys, star presenter at GB News. Patrick, good to see you. Look, this time, after this attack, there were no anti-immigrant riots. So there were after the last attacks, obviously. So what's the story here?
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, firstly, I'd just like to say that story absolutely broke my heart, and I do wish that girl all the best. And it brings me no joy to be talking about this on an Australian channel from Britain. I love this country, and that is not a representation of Britain, more unfortunately a representation of what I think our politicians have done to Britain. There were no riots, mainly because now we lock people up for, misspeaking on social media at the moment. And that is being done to try to stop people talking out about things like this. We have three big issues in Britain at the moment: immigration, the economy and crime. And unfortunately, all three of those things are intrinsically linked. Just take a look at what allegedly happened in Leicester Square, where you've got a homeless Romanian migrant who did not speak a word of English, allegedly stabs a child. What is that person doing here? You mentioned the Roma community there up in Leeds. Now, they're dotted around the country. They are known, if you talk to locals there, for being on benefits, being in social housing, and unfortunately perpetrating crime as well. If you look elsewhere across the English Channel at the moment, we have reports coming through that we are about to import both sides of the Sudanese war from the north and the south of that country, who are fighting each other and locals on the other side of the channel making their way to Britain. We also have high levels of Somali immigration. Now, there are figures out which suggest that the second generation of Somalis, so people who were born here, are still living in social housing. And people have a right to say, well, hang on a minute, if we can see a link between low-level immigration, crime, and us getting poorer, so GDP per capita in Britain is going down, then people are getting very, very angry about that. We have 9.5 million people in Britain at the moment of working age who are not looking for work. Why? Well, partly because the benefit system is so good, but also because we have very cheap migrant labour driving down wages. And that is a huge problem. You mentioned, why did we see no riots? Why did we see no protests? I said there that we've got these huge prison sentences being dished out for things, but you have to ask why. And I think that our Labour government at the moment knows what's coming, and they know that this situation is going to get worse before it gets better, where people will feel poorer and less safe as a result of legal and illegal immigration, and they want to try to shut that debate up now.
Well, talking about people who want to shut up the debates, there are now quite strict rules, etc., etc. So out of abundance of caution, I'll say what you clearly believe and have said in the past before. We're talking about not all immigrants from these countries. We're talking about a few. We're talking about statistics as well. And all that. And we were quite frank about white rioters that went nuts last week and did awful things. So we're just talking where the evidence leads us, in our opinion. Now, here's a strange thing, Patrick, switching gears. Prince Harry has said many times he cannot bring his family over to Britain. It's all too dangerous now that he can't get regular police protection. And on the other hand, this is surprising given all that what is said, he's taking his wife, Meghan Markle, on an official visit of all countries to Colombia, South America. Is there some hypocrisy here?
Yeah, there's massive amounts of hypocrisy. I mean, in light of what I've just said there, that kind of stuff would never affect Prince Harry when he's here. The idea that him and Meghan Markle would not be safe on the streets of Britain is absolutely ludicrous. And the hypocrisy there is that you won't bring back your family, even, for example, for the funeral of his own uncle, which is taking place shortly. He won't come back to that because he doesn't feel safe here, but he will take Meghan Markle to the cocaine-fueled murder and kidnap hotspot of Bogota. They are apparently, while they're there, going to be doing some good. They are also going to be visiting as a guest of the Vice President. Might be worth noting that Vice President has to take a Black Hawk helicopter to work after a series of bomb threats. So that all, yet again, sounds incredibly safe, doesn't it? But they're going to be visiting a remote Colombian village, apparently, which is story behind there is that village was founded by slaves and that they are anti-colonial, etc. And I do wonder whether or not they're hoping for some kind of link between, their journey out of the royal family, finding freedom and all of that. Unfortunately for them, another prominent Colombian politician has come out and said something which I think probably best does describe Meghan Markle. He was referring to the Vice President, but Meghan might find that she's got something in common there, which is She's done nothing. She just virtue signals and plays the victim and travels everywhere by helicopter. So, yes, I think that they might find they do have more in common with certain people than they think when they're out there.
Yes, well, it's interesting that they're now being lending themselves out to be used, in fact, for political purposes by countries that they probably wouldn't have thought of going to had they not been offered a sort of platform and flashing lights. And I noticed they're taking only one reporter, a sort of pool reporter, a friendly reporter. So I'm sure the coverage is going to be glowing. Patrick Christys, thank you so much for your time.